Hello everyone and welcome back to Let's Play Mighty No. 9. In the last part we technically started endgame, but before we go any further, I feel this is the best time for us to tackle the Vermilion Destroyer, the DLC stage for the game. You got this either for being a backer or it came with basically every physical edition of the game, but it's $5 on the store otherwise if you want to do this.
I've heard him use the name Thunder before. Is that where he is hiding?
We are being hacked by an outside source. They are trying to steal our location data. Dr. White, I cannot stop the attack from here. We need to neutralize the culprit directly.
They have some guts to target us directly. Can you tell who it is?
Checking their access location now. This is... It seems to be coming from a Cherry Dynamics lab outside the city.
What in the world could my former employer want? Beck, I need you to investigate this immediately.
Got it. I will head that way now.
I'm mostly tackling this as a prelude to something we're going to be doing down the line. Also, if memory serves, the explain for that stage is just the dialogue we just heard. Oh dear! Looks like someone else has been here before us. Yay?
I've been watching you. You're a predator as well.
A predator? Professor, a strange robot is...
Beck seems to have encountered something. Professor, how should...
Silence!
Huh? I lost my comlink. But how could...
I am Ray. And you. Who are you?
Accidentally skipped a little bit of dialogue there, but oh well. To start, Ray here is going to do a lot of dashes directly at you, sometimes trying to teleport behind you and just surprise you. Stay on your feet and use Cryo's ability here because she does take damage over time. Be careful of the lasers because those do hurt and they come out pretty quickly. But as long as you keep your distance, this fight shouldn't be too bad in the long run. Brandish also, once again, helps a lot.
Ah!
Clear!
And now the stage proper begins, which is, for the most part, just a lot of enemy rushes all at once with some walls you need to destroy. Be careful of the electric plugs because they do swing down or drop down depending on the one, so take a moment and try to, like, observe what they're gonna do when you get close enough to them. Notably, Ray, by the way, is a case of a voice actor that got more popular after this game came out. They are voiced by Carla Tassara, who, at the time when this game came out, was only in Fallout 4. But nowadays, she's best known as the voice for Judy Alvarez in Cyberpunk 2077, on top of Chiaki in the Nocturne remaster. So, how the stage goes for you depends on when you play it, because you can access it, I believe, at any point once you get past the tutorial stage on a fresh file. So you could theoretically make this your first stage, and I wouldn't recommend that because having any abilities at all makes this go a lot easier, especially with Battalion's missile for taking down the walls, or a lot of the other enemies, or Brandish's sword. Because of what I'm taking this on, this is the easiest this stage can be. Also, we're coming up on one of the worst examples where I think this DLC wasn't proofread that well. Stage directions, really.
But why? Why am I alive?
Round 2 against Ray is a little more aggressive. By and large, any attacks you did during round 1 she'll now potentially do upwards of twice in a row, like with the lasers to try and trip you up. But as long as you're very aggressive with your buster mashing and use the cryo ability to get some extra damage over time, and this fight isn't that bad. I think cryo is technically just outright her weakness, but it feels like it does more damage because of the damage over time rather than actually doing more damage per hit, so to speak. So if you can pile that up with your buster, you're in for some good stuff. Use Avi's ability there to get over that attack pretty easily. And there we go. So something I'm not too sure about with this stage is where it fell under the game's development in terms of the stretch goals, because I forgot to mention last time, the reason the call stage feels so weird is that it was a late stretch goal that they met. So that could potentially help with why it feels so out of place with the game's pace. But they also made backer goals for 2 extra stages and an extra end stage and boss, and I'm not sure which of those became real, if at all. Because some of the things that became stretch goals I don't think ever happened in reality, especially when it came to like extra versions of the game. There are some versions of the game you can still technically pre-order on Amazon that will probably never come out. I'll get more into the nitty-gritty of that in the game's credits, but there's a lot of things that just never ended up happening because of way too big of a scope with probably no realistic idea of how to attain those parts of the scope. Alright though, time for a cutscene and the actual boss fight of this stage.
I will have my answers. From him!
What do you want with the professor?
You know this man.
Of course. The professor created me. I won't let you near him in this state. You're completely out of control.
You will tell me exactly where I can find him. Or I will tear it from your cells.
Not for nothing, Ray's design's great, even if it's very clearly just, what if we made a mighty number 0? To the point where I think that is literally her actual number. Ray is pretty aggressive as a fight because she still has the dash attacks towards you, the teleports and the lasers, but now she'll actively throw in some saber slashes, and that's where you really want to keep your distance. Use Cryo's ability to get the damage over time going, then switch back to Beck's Buster and start hammering in on her to get some HP drained really quickly. This fight isn't hard, but it's one where the damage she can output can surprise you, especially considering she actively has phases where she just goes a little more berserk. Is it weird that the DLC boss is technically like my second favorite boss in the game? Probably. But there's a reason her moveset's a little more fleshed out than others if you're paying attention, and we'll get more into why in a few moments. For now, let's just dodge that laser, dodge that dash, shoot at her, and clear the stage.
Come on! Snap out of it! Now!
You live without devouring your prey. How? I'm falling apart. So cold. I must feed.
Mission clear.
You might be wondering what her deal is about. And we do have another cutscene coming up here, but a lot of her stuff is explained in her own campaign that you unlock for getting the DLC, and I think beating the stage.
Respond! Beck, please respond.
Beck! Beck, are you alright? What on earth is going on over there?
Professor? Everything's okay. I'm fine. I battled against an unidentified robot. A female wearing a red cloak.
A red cloak?
Our database has no robots on file matching that description.
The enemy's gone for now. I'll return to base.
Good work out there, Beck. Let's go over the details once you're back home.
Only they never actually go over the details. If you can do that stage whenever, and it never gets touched on outside of Ray's own campaign from there on. For now, it's time for the Robot Factory. Please regain control of the Robot Factory immediately. This is a dangerous location filled with various malfunctioning robots. Beck's ReXelection ability is the key to victory. This stage can be rough on a first time, but it's probably the one I like revisiting the most.
System ready? Go!
Now then, Beck, you needn't fight every robot you see. Our objective is the factory core.
So this stage is a little bit like some of the Wily castles, namely Mega Man 2 when it uses the items, or that gem area before King's Castle and Mega Man and Base, in that in order to get through a lot of the platforming here, you're going to need to use your ReXelections, and use them well. So if you've been trying to bust her only up to this point, you might be in trouble.
The security system is scrambled. As it is, you must hit the panel there to open the door. It only remains open for an instant, but that should pose no problem for you.
A majority of the areas here are pressing switches to open doors and using your powers to do so in a certain way, while also using your other powers to platform around.
I've known can openers that hit harder!
I appreciate the zeal, Bat, but could you take the crazy down a notch?
Hey, get it together, you two! Tyrannosaurus Vex is here! The Haywire robot assembly line is just up ahead, Becker. It's all up to you. Roger, Avi! I'm on it!
Ironically, Avi talked over the hardest part of the stage right there because using Avi's ability to descend there is surprisingly precise. And here we got the mom. This is a mini-boss where you need to actively target the console on the computer while melting any robots it sends out from the chutes above. Cryo's ability and Brandish's ability are very good here. Cryo's ability especially on the main MOM, whereas Brandish is better for any of the things that get let out by the chutes. Depending on which special weapons you like to use a lot, you can drain through your ammo pretty quickly here, but thankfully with the amount of enemies around, replenishing the Zells you use up isn't the hardest thing to do. It's also one of the stages that's easiest to get a high score in the game because of the amount of enemies and combos you can get going.
Well, 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 what do we have here? Yo, Necropolis! I got a hot scoop to deliver to Doc Sondabag. Be right back.
You see what I mean about Avi talking the most out of all the Mighty Numbers to a point where it makes him kind of endearing to me? Like, the other Mighty Numbers all have a share of lines, but it comes down almost the same way that the personalities did in Mega Man Powered Up, where it's relatively one note, if a little cute here and there. But Avi gets enough dialogue where it's like, oh wow, there's actually seemingly some emotional range to this character. Wow. And now for an out-of-nowhere refight against the intro boss. If memory serves, this thing does technically have a different name. It's like the Borer or something. But since you have weapons at this point, you can just melt through this thing's health really quickly. Brandish is once again very good for this. Battalion also very good. Even Beck's Buster is still very good for this. Definitely a lot faster than Bustering it was back during part 1. Not actually sure if it has more or less health though. Alright, this portion of the stage can be a little rough. I think I technically do this the way you're not meant to. I think you're technically meant in one portion of this stage to use Countershade Shot and Knockback. Countershade Shot to actively shoot the switches. But in a lot of cases where you can, Battalion's explosions can reach it, or Avi's propeller can also reach it. I think they want you to use every power at least once in here, but you can kind of fudge around that number a little bit if you know the other abilities well enough.
Ah, young one, not to worry. Nothing here my blades can't handle.
We've got this area under control. Go help Cryo's team instead.
Yes, please! I'm ice creaming these spots, but there's so many of them!
Maybe if you spend more time fighting and less on your lame puns.
What? Just remember who you're talking to, Shady! I'm 6 whole numbers older than you!
Hearing the Mighty Numbers interact in depth like this, even if it is very quick, makes me just see the potential for what this game could have been on a character aspect that they just never take advantage of. It makes me wonder also what happened to those plans to make this into an animated series, because, man, that trailer came out before the game even did, and people even at that point were like, really? It feels like you're overextending here a little bit. God, to have been in that studio to see what happened to any of those early tests.
Crash and burn!
Now that's what I like to see! First into battle, the tip of the spear!
Of course! It's a leader's duty, after all!
More these bumpers? Don't worry, there's plenty of stuff to go around.
You may have seen me hesitating for a second there. I was trying to go for a 50 combo achievement.
Good heavens! I've never seen its like before. Has the factory started making its own designs? Beck, you must disable the computer core, there, before it can create an army of these.
Alright, Nameless is the boss here, but it's not the real target. You want to take out the core of Nameless as fast as you can, while it uses the Omega Arm attack from Mega Man 03 to open up the main MOM behind it and then blast it with cryo shots as fast as possible to drain its health very quickly. But you are on a timer here because another Nameless is being reconstructed in the background. You can completely drain its HP in one go. I've done it before, I did it in practice, but in recording, I couldn't quite do that. And what really sucks is, on the second go, they're almost guaranteed to use this attack where they fire missiles out of their back, which then rain down, while the conveyor belt below you pushes you and pulls you in various directions. This attack isn't too hard in concept to get around, it just goes on forever and you cannot damage the boss during it, so it doesn't feel great. This is actually one of the few cases I can recommend using Seismic's ability to help just resist the conveyor belt, but dashing also does a good job with that. Again, Seismic's ability, not very good, even though I love the visual of it. I think there are strategies for this fight where Seismic can actively come in handy during the Nameless section, because you can just charge into the eye over and over again if you jump a certain way, I think, but Bustering, battalions, explosions, brandish as usual, like so many other better ways to go about this in combat. Yeah, this stage, I can't tell why. Maybe it's just because of the amount of interaction, maybe it's the fact it doesn't do a lot of just main bullshit. I've never disliked it too much.
Come on! Snap out of it! Now!
Mission clear.
Not to say I didn't dislike the stage in my first playthrough, it still was not great, but it was like, alright, I can see what they're going for here, I kinda like it. Doesn't stop a lot for the other stages from just kinda being duds for me on the first playthrough.
Excellent. That should halt the manufacturing of any more Berserker robots, at least. Good work, Beck. I'll meet you back outside the factory. There's someone I must see first.
Hello, Dr. Blackwell.
One of those Sanders, aren't you? The scientist one. What do you want?
Do you know what's going on outside? The crazy robots, the clashes, the chaos?
I am aware. What did that twit Graham expect activating her again?
Graham? From Cherry Dynamics? What do you mean, activating her again?
Trinity, of course. Graham is obsessed with using her to disrupt the weapons industry. The fool. I stopped him last time. And what thanks did I get? A lifetime stay at this maximum security resort.
Cheese and rice! You mean the cyber terrorism attack you were arrested for was to stop Graham?
Trinity can assimilate any robot's programming and overwrite it, take control of it. And not just the programming. She can incorporate a bot's components, expanding herself endlessly. If she's been activated, it's already too late. Trinity cannot be stopped.
Whoa! Peas and carrots!
So, Mr. Graham, it was you who activated Trinity. Dr. Blackwell wasn't around to stop you this time, yet you're scapegoating him again, just the same. It was never about progress with you, just money. Always money.
No, this isn't my fault! Her warning label didn't mention all this. I mean, not specifically. I blame her creators. I blame the shareholders. I blame corporate society. I blame my parents.
Bizarrely pitch perfect rich dude.
Trinity was my experiment. She was ultimately deemed a failure, but she was an educational one. I put everything I learned from creating her into Mighty Number 9. Beck is our only hope of stopping her.
Wait a minute. I didn't recognize you with that ridiculous hairdo, but you're Bill Blackwell!
No, my name is William White. I'm not Bill Blackwell. And I haven't been for a long time.
Seeing scenes like that, where they build into something with plot that we're never really going to get to dive into because of how much of the game is left, makes me really think they should have just maybe started doing this game as like a comic to see if the story would get fans, and then they wouldn't need to worry about building the story in the game itself. But also that would have just taken even longer and probably made people even more pissed off. Oh boy. But with that, I'm going to need to end this off here. Thank you guys for watching, and in part 6, we finished the campaign. See you guys then.